Why, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Hedgehog Ghoul here at your services. I was summoned here today so that this Hedgehog can entertain you lovely, delicious humans.
Screw this crap, it's getting creepy even for Halloween standards. Anyways, it's the month of October, so that means it's time to bring out all the spookiness that your heart can take. So what better way to celebrate Halloween than with superheroes? Because, I mean, come on, everyone has to have dressed up as one of these lovely crime-fighting dudes and chicks at least once during Halloween. Hell, I remember one time where I dressed up as Superman one spooky night. Crazily enough, I didn't even know who Superman was back then. I didn't watch superhero-related TV shows as a kid, cut me a break. As I mentioned before, Spider-Man is my favorite out of all these crime fighters. I have my reasons and explanations as to why I consider him the best, but needless to say, he's a pretty kick-ass person. So now that I mentioned Spider-Man, it's time to talk about the Sam Raimi trilogy. Looking back on them, they're pretty damn silly and unbelievably flawed. Even for someone like me who's just happy to see Spider-Man web-slinging through the streets and buildings of New York, I can see how stupid and off these three movies are. Though despite that, I still enjoy these movies quite a lot despite the cruddy stupidity. So like pretty much every other licensed product out there, it didn't take long for Spider-Man to appear in his own lineup of video games. Some of which include the video game versions of the Sam Raimi movies. As a matter of fact, I have all three of them right here in my possession. Now I already gave my thoughts on Spider-Man 2, so we'll toss that aside. Spider-Man 3 I feel like we should talk about another time, so now that leaves Spider-Man 1. Released about 2 months before the release of the movie, Spider-Man 1 was created for the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. It was developed by Treyarch and published by... Oh dear, I haven't even played this game and I already have a bad feeling about this. Now I heard that this game was also made for the Game Boy Advance and the PC, but since I only own the console versions of this Spider-Man game, that's the version I'll be going with for this review. So how's about we get rolling into action and take a look at this game? But before I get into the game itself, I have to point out that this game is rated E. In other words, it's targeted for people of all ages. Which I feel is kind of confusing since the movie this game is based on is PG-13, meaning that it's targeted for teenagers and adults. So I find it hard to understand as to why they have different ratings. This kind of means that the children playing this game will have to bring a teen or adult next to them if they want to watch the movie this game is based on. I know this seems off topic, but I think this was something that needed to be brought up. Alright, now's the time to pop this game in and see what it has to offer. So after we get the companies that published and developed the game, we get this short intro to get us pumped for what's coming up, and it's actually really damn catchy. The opening animation and the neat song playing really do get you ready for what should feel like an exciting Spider-Man game. It's rather short and you can skip it, but it's there. Alright, here we go. New game. Classic or enhanced. I don't know what the difference is, but enhanced. Control stick or the D-pad? Wow, is that like a rhetorical question or something? You know, unless you're playing on a handheld device or even the N64 controller, using the D-pad as the main source of navigation is not gonna work well compared to the control stick, so yeah, control stick, no doubt. Difficulty. Well, I usually like to be smack dab in the middle, so normal should be a good balance. So the game starts out with Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, telling us about his life story. Something that's interesting to point out is that they actually got the person who played Peter in the Sam Raimi movies to voice him here in the game. Yep, they got Tobey Maguire to provide the voice of our favorite spider hero.
This is how my story begins. My Uncle Ben and Aunt May raised me like a son. They never had much money though. I thought my powers could help make up for that. The last time I saw Uncle Ben alive, we argued. I took out my frustration in the ring. Poor Bonesaw never even saw me coming.
Boy, Bonesaw must have gotten a tan, lost some of them muscles, and shaved because he looks a tad bit different from the Bonesaw in the movie. Can you just see the similarities right there?
The fight promoter cheated me, so I didn't think it was my problem when he got robbed.
Somebody, stop it! 12 Henry, call back on that 187 in connection with the carjacking at the 42nd Street Library.
10-4. Suspect is believed to be a member of...
Huh? What, did you say something, Tobey Maguire? I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear you over the freaking music and background voice from the police radio!
Uncle Ben. Murdered.
Oh, so that's what you said. Wait a minute. So that's your reaction to your uncle getting killed? You sound like an uninterested teenager who's in need of coffee in the morning. Man, I can't believe the stupid police are blocking this area. I want my Starbucks. Man, people like the Nostalgia Critic point out how much Tobey Maguire cries way too goddamn much in the trilogy, but here he's got, like, no emotion whatsoever. Alright, so here we go. It's time to begin. So aside from using the control stick or D-pad, you can punch enemies with the B button and kick enemies with the X button. Not that there's much of a difference. You can also use the Y button to tie up enemies with your web, although the bosses in this game can break out of it at a split second. As obvious among obvious, the A button is to jump, and to guide your way through these buildings using your web as if you were swinging through vines, you press the R button. And lastly, the C stick is to control the camera. The L button is practically useless, and its only main purpose is to pull these kinds of moves off when you press the Y, B, or X button. As for the Z button, I'll show off what that does later. I don't want to focus anymore on the controls and button inputs as much as I already have, but I must point out that controlling Spider-Man in this game is awful! I swear, this is probably one of the most confusing and wonky controls I've ever played in a video game. To provide an explanation, sometimes when you move around using the control stick and try to move the camera with the C stick at the same time, the control spazzes out and it has a hard time figuring out where you're going. And it'll act as if you're going in one direction, only you're going the exact opposite way. I even had to record myself using the controls at a certain point in the game just to further prove my point. See? See? Look at this donkey schlog, why is this happening? With that little rant out of the way, let's get on to the actual game itself. So as it says, I need to defeat some skulls, which I can only assume are a name of a street gang or whatever. To figure out where you're going, there's a compass on the bottom right corner of the screen. So I pretty much have to defeat these guys in order to move on. Whoa, my god! Well, there he goes. There's no way his thug ass is gonna be causing any more trouble, that's for sure. So I defeat a crapload of skulls, and Peter gets his hands on one of the gang members to tell him where his uncle's killer is. After getting the confession out by threatening to drop him off the building, he tosses him aside in a really weird pose there. I defeat more skulls and touch this spider icon thingy here. That ends the level. So we enter a hideout? Does that seem right? Well, something like that.
You see those heavily shadowed areas?
Why yes, good sir, I do.
Whenever you're in a shadowed spot like that, you become invisible to the bad guys.
Jeez, okay, dude, you don't have to get all creepy. Gosh. So as you can tell, these question marks will give you a bunch of hints and tips. Oh, and might I also point out that the narrator here is voiced by Bruce Campbell. Even in the video games, he still manages to find some way to get a cameo in the trilogy. As Bruce said, you can hide in these dark spots here and you'll practically be invisible, so the thugs won't be able to see you. So for the next mission, one of these numbskulls took out the fuse to the door that leads to Uncle Ben's killer. So I have to go through these vents, turn off the electricity blocking the way, and knock out the thug that has the fuse.
How you like me now, punk? Ah! You're so dead.
Whoa, hold the dadgum phone. Are these skulls voiced by the same guy?
Circus in town? Circus in town? What's with the getup, chump? Look at you. You think you're pretty tough, huh? Looks like the freak wants to play. Looks like the freak wants to play.
Oh, son of a quark! They are voiced by the same guy! It's like watching those videos of people doing impersonations of different characters from all kinds of media. But this dude can only do one voice impression. Stereotypical deep voice sounding tough guy.
Looks like the freak wants to play.
You fail.
So I found my way through this vent that leads to the switch that gets the door open, defeated the thug that had the fuse for the switch, and got the door open. Mission number 3. We have to, well, take a guess. Take a wild freaking guess. Yep, defeat even more of these freaking skull thugs. You know, this is starting to get old really fast. And I swear, if there wasn't this button combo, XAX, which is shown in the action right here, and do this cool move right here where you press L and then X, which causes a web explosion, I don't think you would be able to defeat all these guys. Because they gather around like paparazzi and gangbang you like there's no tomorrow. Oh, and some of them have guns. That's just peachy. But hot damn, this XAX combo really does do a buttload of damage. It's probably the strongest move in the game compared to just spamming the X and B buttons. So I recommend using this combo often, otherwise you're probably going to be stuck on this game for a while. Oh, and this is where we hear another function that the L button has.
If you hold the L button and press up on the C stick, you'll enter look-around mode. In this fun mode, a targeting reticle will appear, which you can aim with the C stick. When the reticle turns green, you're in zip range, baby. Press the Z button to zip to the point you're aiming at, or release the L button to exit look-around mode.
Now after beating even more of these annoying skulls, one of them drops a key and it opens a door leading to a flight of stairs, which brings us to the first boss in the game, Uncle Ben's Killer. All that needs to be said about this boss is that it's simply lame. Uncle Ben's Killer constantly runs away in all directions in this maze-like room, and when he spots you, he'll shoot you with his shotgun. It'll be a chore to even try and get a hit off of him. Plus, once he loses a certain amount of health, he'll set off some flash grenades. So you have to hit the Z button and get yourself onto the ceiling with your web. The function that the Z button provides will help you out a shit ton in some of the newer missions later down the line. As long as you're up there, he can't see you, so you won't get shot at. Yo, dude. Yeah, yes, you. I'm talking to you, sir. Instead of, running around like a monkey, if you're so afraid of Spider-Man, you could just, exit out of the room and make some sort of getaway. You don't have to confine yourself to this room and run around like that. Overall, this boss is crap.
No! You! Not you!
Stay back! I'm warning you, you psycho!
I could have stopped you at the fight promoter's office. I could have saved Uncle Ben.
Okay, what the fudge in hell was that? The guy wobbled like a rocking chair and fell backwards out the window to his death. Just, what even? The first movie at least showed that the killer tripped on a piece of pipe as he backed away from Peter, and that's what caused his death. But here he acted as if he was battling the air for his fight to stay balanced. This guy must have been the clumsiest dude on Earth to have done something this idiotic. Afterwards, Peter mopes about his Uncle Ben's death again, and by moping, he, again, sounds like he just woke up a few seconds ago.
Uncle Ben. Nothing could ever fill the hole left when he died. Those wounds never really heal. The beautiful redhead is Mary Jane Watson.
What the what? That wasn't even a full second, and he jumps from being depressed about his uncle's death to immediately talking about Mary Jane. He also brings up some other things, like his friend, Harry Osborn's father, giving them an apartment and his job being a photographer, but it comes and goes like dynamite. I think this is also the best time to point out that it feels like this is the very first time Tobey Maguire ever acted. I mean, he's nothing spectacular that needs to make the headlines in the newspaper, but he's still a decent actor at best. How is it that in the final product of this game being developed, he sounds absolutely uninterested in everything that's going on? Come on, Toby, you're better than this. Get your head in the game. Also, we see Harry Osborn's father with some scientists discussing science-y stuff. And is it me, or are the mouth movements in the cutscenes kind of nauseating?
Yes, Mr. Osborn, as that video showed, Spider-Man possesses all the attributes our project hopes to create. We hypothesize that he has augmented spider DNA in his system and feel certain that an analysis of his blood will enable us to complete our serum. We can modify the hunter-killers to track this DNA signature and capture Spider-Man.
Do it.
Oh really? Just like that? No ands, ifs, or buts about it? You don't hesitate anytime soon, do you? And yeah, as you can tell, they also got Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn in this game, just as he did in the movie. So back to the action. We finally get to see Peter with the Spider-Man suit. And if this isn't the shortest mission in any video game ever, then I don't know what is. You just shoot your web and jump around while also punching this balloon on an occasion. Oh, and I forgot to point this out when I was mentioning the controls, but if you tap the C-stick up, you can log on to a target. I would have pointed this out sooner, but not only did I forget that it even existed, but this is probably one of the only times where that will actually be useful. After taking pictures of himself in the sky, somehow, How does that work? We run into these robots, which are cringefully easy to take down as well. You just shoot your web at them with the Y button, hold it for a few seconds, and they die. That's it. Again, if this isn't the easiest and fastest mission in any game ever, then I don't know what is. So now we see some golden shower boy with blood red vest and a bunch of his thugs who were in the middle of a robbery who were stopped by Spider-Man and then just decided, you know what? Let's just vandalize everything in sight. And if anyone gets in your way, kick their motherfucking ass. I then have to defend this cop as we both fight them off. He has a health bar as well, so be sure to keep a close eye on him. Okie dokie, looks like that's all of them. Oh. Okay, what's this? Oh, looks like another cop and Mr. Business Suit here are also under attack. I gotta go save them too. But since the guy in the business suit loses his health faster, that's an indication that I have to save him before I help the cop. Alright, now it seems like I'm done. Oh, son of a bitch! Another damn cop needs saving? Hey, boys in white and blue, I know it's your job to protect everyone from the hands of evil, but seeing as how you're not doing much and you're getting your butts handed to you, you think you could just back off and let me do all the work, please? There we go. Another cop saved. Again.
So you must be Quilt Man, Padded Pete, Mr. Triple Ply? Oh, I've got it. The cushion.
Oh, that's our Spidey.
I'm the Shocker. I tell you not to forget it, but you won't be around long enough to worry about that. Now say goodbye to Mr. Innocent Bystander, sucker.
Yeah, you won't live to remember it, so that's why I plan on killing a citizen first to erase your existence.
Tell me about it.
Really, man? You can't hear the crumbling noises right behind you and you're more focused on whatever's going on in that phone call of yours? I don't care if it's a really kinky phone sex call, that thing's gonna squash you like a pancake. Oh, whatever. Looks like I even have to treat you like a baby and get you out of the way.
You really ought to pay more attention.
Yeah, you tell him, Spidey. Looks like Shocker's thugs want a piece of me. Oh, and all of them happen to be voiced by one guy as well.
Heads up! You aren't so tough. Let's get him! You'll eat those words. You aren't so tough.
You fail.
There. Looks like I'm finally done here. Oh, come on! Seriously? More cops in need of help? For goodness sake, these are probably the most unreliable cops in the history of the world. Dare I even say that they're just as bad as the cops from GTA? Scratch that. Maybe not that bad. Okay. Is that it? Am I done babysitting these stupid citizens and cops from Shocker and his thugs? Oh, good. Thank God that's over with. Now I go through these sewers and beat more of Shocker's gang members so I could get to Shocker himself. Yeah, there's really not that much to say here. The next mission, on the other hand, absolute torture. There are these tunnels that lead to Shocker. However, Shocker will launch a powerful attack your way, and you have to take cover in these open areas in between the tunnels. Otherwise, you'll lose a good chunk of your health. In fact, if you get hit 3 times, you die. This wouldn't be that bad, but Shocker will attack at the very instant you peek your head through the tunnel. Even if your head is an inch away from your cover, you get hit. Seriously, the hit detection is really off. I even got killed for the first time because of this. Since Shocker is being such an unfair pansy, your only chance of getting close to him is to do what Bruce Campbell said before and hold the L button, look around using the C stick, and then hit the Z button when the red icon turns green, so that you can get to another tunnel with open areas to protect you. But there's an issue here. The open areas are too far away and dark. Plus, I mentioned before that if you measly peek your head out a little bit, Shocker will attack you and the crappy hit detection will get to you if your body is exposed just a tad bit. In other words, you don't have much space to fire your web to another open area in the tunnels. This is easily the start of the toughest parts of the game. The other missions beforehand were just alright. Hell, I'll even let that mission where I had to save 1,000 cops every second slide. This mission, on the other hand, is where the game gets hard on ya. But I eventually managed to get my way to him, mostly by sheer luck, and... Oh, fuck you, Shocker. Seriously, fuck you. I spent this whole time trying to get behind the open areas in these tunnels to hide behind your bullshit attacks that take up the whole area and hit me even if it wasn't even close. I finally get to the end, and instead of manning up and fighting me, you run away like a fucking coward. I don't know if there's an official poll to decide who the worst Spider-Man villain is, but if Shocker is on there, I'm putting my vote on him. So since he blocked me, all I have to do is tap this switch here, and a secret passageway is revealed to get to Shocker. Alright, pussy britches, no more running away. Time for you to fight me like a man. The fight with Shocker is nothing that spectacular either. All he really does is shoot powerful air attacks your way like always. He's also got this little move right here where he creates a mini tornado. The only difference between this and the fight with Uncle Ben's killer is that you have more room to move around in, and at least it doesn't feel like you're running in a maze. All in all though, this boss is nothing special, but I will say it's sort of better than the last one.
So you're called the Shocker, but you don't use electricity. I don't get it.
Yeah, you're not the only one, Spidey. So we tie up Shocker, and this leads to the next mission where we find out where his companion Vulture is. He happens to be in this clock tower, so logically we keep walking up the stairs to head to the top. But if you thought that this was going to be quick and simple, then you're expecting way too much from this game. Because every now and then, Vulture will be throwing bombs and spiders in the form of robots. As I was making my way to the top of the clock tower, Vulture explodes part of the stairs and now there's a large chunk of wood swinging like a pendulum. And the place is on fire. Well, only this part. And it's not spreading for some reason. Oh, and let's not forget that this place feels like, oh, I don't know, a hootin' tootin' maze. There are some parts that are blocked off, so I have to find another way to get to the top. But my god, every wall, every inch of this tower looks exactly the same. I have absolutely no idea where I can go just so I can get to the top.
I'd come down there, but you seem busy.
Vulture has to throw a bomb to blow up some of those things blocking the way just so I can move on. How was I supposed to know that? Forget it, I don't even care at this point. How much longer do I have to climb up this place? It feels like climbing up that endless staircase from Super Mario 64. I have a feeling that I have to be a tad bit closer to the end. Okay, just holy cheese! What? The hell was all that about? At first he just spawned a couple of those bombs and spiders, but now it seems like he's getting so freaking desperate that he's throwing those things every millisecond. Mr. Vulture, I know you're a criminal and you don't want to be arrested, but good golly, give it a rest. Because of that dumb baloney right there, I have to start the mission all over again. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention? Anytime you die in this game, you have to go right back at the very beginning of the current mission you're on. Apparently the developers expect the targeted audience for this game to get through a whole mission in one go with no checkpoints or halfway marks. I mean, I know, some of the missions can be short and easy, but then you get others like this that feel almost impossible to complete. Like that stupid hiding behind tunnels from Shocker's bullshit attacks mission. I'm honestly surprised that this is even an E-rated game. This is way too hard for a game of this rating. Alright, let's try this again.
Who's your landlord, Vulture? Quasimodo?
Damn these stupid bombs. They cover practically the entire area and consume my poor innocent health. Oh, speaking of which, there's some right there. Oh, how I've been needing you so much.
I don't like this game.
One more time. Just one more time. I cannot back down, dagnabbit. There's no way some elderly man dressed up as a bird is going to get the better of me.
You're becoming a thorn in my side.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Really? So I guess if we were to trade places here, then our current situation would remain the same. Because you sure as hell are becoming a thorn in my goddamn sight, you old bag of fuck! Thankfully, this next attempt pays off, and I finally reach the end of the stairs and ultimately the end of the tower, since in the cutscene, Spider-Man does what we all would have wanted to do and use his web to get to the very top.
Must be a pain to get groceries up here.
Ah, pest! Why can't you leave me in peace?
Well, I was going to possibly let you off easy since you're an old man and everything, but after all that crap you did back there, I plan on giving you the beating of your lifetime. Hey, no you don't. You better get your sorry bottom back here, old man. Now I have to chase after this bird brain. That's literally all you do. There are a few occasions where he does try and stall you by knocking down the legs of a billboard and a water tower, but all you have to do is hold the Y button to tie them up with your web so that it doesn't fall. Just don't lose sight of him and make sure you don't get too far away from him, which will be indicated in the top right corner here. Obviously, if you're too far away from him, you lose the mission. Afterwards, you then actually start to fight Vulture in the air. The fight with this birdie bird plays a little differently compared to the other two beforehand. You see, a few specks of his health will be covered in blue while the rest is red as always. That's because the blue area applies to his health while he's in the air. You have to reduce that part until it is invisible, which causes him to land on near ground. But after a while, he'll go back into the air. Once he lands, just wail on him until he loses all of his health like always. Take that, you elderly jackpipe. That'll teach you to mess with this little Hedgie. Enjoy the last years you have left in prison. And if you happen to run into Shocker, tell him I said hola. And that he's possibly the crappiest Spider-Man villain. Now these next two missions here, well, to be honest, they're kind of pointless. For explanation's sake, Norman Osborn and another scientist spots two people with arachnid DNA roaming the streets of New York. One of them is, of course, Spider-Man, and the other is a guy called Scorpion running away from some more robot spiders. The elevator Peter was taking ends up coming to a sudden stop, so he assumes something's afoot. So he changes into his suit and gets ready for action. That's where we coincidentally run into Scorpion and those robot spiders. That's where you have to defeat 20 of these things while at the same time protecting Scorpion, making sure his health doesn't deplete. Afterwards, Scorpion ever so rudely attacks you after helping because, well, let's just say that he's what you call a paranoid schizophrenic. He's so paranoid that he loses his touch with reality and thinks that everyone in the entire world is after him. So Spidey chases after him, and that's where we get into yet another boss fight, which again is nothing spectacular like with the others. You have to make sure Scorpion doesn't attach himself to the walls, because he'll use those to his advantage and fire a powerful laser. Just use your web to break him down and punish him with your kicks and punches. With that in mind, he's probably the quickest boss to beat in the game, just as long as you keep him off the walls. The only hard thing about it is that he constantly runs away from you just like Uncle Ben's killer. Other than that, this should be a cakewalk. Probably. So what happens after that? Spidey looks at one of the spiders that appeared out of nowhere, and in a split second, Scorpion's able to make like the Three Stooges and scram. So why do I find these two missions pointless? Well, at least the other bad guys before this point in the game held a bit of a purpose. With Uncle Ben's killer, it was the first set of missions in the game, so that you could figure out the controls and whatnot. Not only that, but Spidey just got these powers and he fights crime for the first time. Plus, he's the guy who killed one of Peter's family members. Why wouldn't you go after scum like him? Shocker and Vulture were working together in a robbery, and they were the first supervillains you encountered. I like to think of them as the test to see how Peter will face off against people who have powers just like him. But with Scorpion, he's not really a bad guy, if you know what I mean. He's just so darn paranoid to the point where he thinks everyone's out to kill him. Even the game forgets about these two missions, because they just brush them aside and forget about them like nothing happened. Yeah, Scorpion himself and Oscorp chasing after him since he has the same DNA as Spider-Man? Completely abandoned. What was the purpose of this part? Did they just want to make the game last longer so they threw this together at the last second? And now Norman Osborn becomes Green Goblin with the chemicals that enhance his performance, but also making him totally insane. So during a balloon party, Peter discovers that his friends, Harry and Mary Jane, are now dating. Also, the Green Goblin arrives to cause terror. How's about we teach him some manners? Also, how come it's night during the gameplay, but during the cutscene it was daytime? Oh, but before we go after the Goblin, we have to get Mary Jane off of this parade float. Now we can go after him. This is pretty much identical to the missions with Vulture. You need to lock onto him and unload your attacks on him, but then he'll run away from you so that he can blow up the legs of a satellite tower and this thing right here connected to the buildings. The only difference between this and the Vulture mission is that this mission has a time limit. I didn't say it was a huge difference. You continue your fight with Green Goblin through the very next mission. Just like the Vulture fight again, part of his health is blue, so you have to get rid of that part so that he can land and you can truly destroy his health bar. So he breaks the glass on top of this building and you follow him in that building. That's where it gets freaking annoying. Fighting the Green Goblin wouldn't be much of a problem, but I can hardly tell if my attacks are even connecting to him. Even if they do hit him, he doesn't even seem fazed by them. Trying to attack him in the air won't work because he'll grab me, drop me, and then dive kick me as if he's the Roadrunner escaping one of Wile E. Coyote's traps. Plus he's got this move right here where he'll launch after me and fling me like a ragdoll. He will do this move a lot. No doubt, this is the most infuriating boss in the game, due to how his attacks, hit detection, and defense are filled with bullshit, and nothing more than that. Once you manage to reduce his health to a certain point, he'll get back onto his glider, so you have to repeat the process of depleting his blue health. Afterwards, he'll enter another building by falling through the glass again. Now you enter that building to stop him once and for all. Oh, and it's filled with these miniature electric towers that will spit out electricity which will indubitably harm you. And the Green Goblin will run away from you. What a surprise. My god, the supervillains and bad guys in this game really do love to run away from you like cowards and let something else kill you. I get that they're criminals and everything, but good god, I thought they would at least man up and go into a fist fight with me instead of running away. Can you just imagine what their daily meetings are like? Alright, I'm gonna make this meeting brief. Just remember that the most important thing for you to do if you ever come across someone who isn't a cop, but some kind of superhero, all you gotta do is run. Run like the breezing wind and don't let them ever catch you. Don't even put up a fight, just run like cowardly know-it-all female high schoolers. Y'all got that? Good. Meeting adjourned. And our Goblin Gremlin doesn't even stop there. After beating him, he says that he somehow scattered bombs all over the city. So now we have to deactivate them or else a catastrophe will happen. I'm okay with this mission having a time limit. Seeing as how you have to deactivate a bomb, you'd expect a time limit. The issue with that, however, is that I barely got enough time to actually disable them by using the B button. I mean, the first bomb gives you 20 seconds, the next set has 2 bombs and it gives you 45 seconds, which leaves me with plenty of time. But the next 2 sets feel kind of redundant. The third set has 3 bombs and they give you a minute to disable them. But since they're so far away, I just ever so barely got them shut off with a mere 5.7 seconds left. The very last bomb gives you 30 seconds, and again, since it's so far away, I had 5.8 seconds remaining. Not to mention that there's robots everywhere that have almost precise shooting accuracy, as well as these spotlights and a helicopter where if they catch you, they'll shoot at you with almost precise shooting accuracy as well. So not only do you have to worry about the time limit, but you also have to worry about your health decreasing and just hoping that you don't die. I felt like I was just lucky to deactivate all these bombs with just merely 6 seconds remaining. And yet, that damn goblin feels as if he's not done yet. Now he's sending these damn Razorbat thingies to kill me. I simply have to destroy 50 of these. Okay, that's simple enough. Wait, so if I had to sabotage 50 of these, why are there way more than that flying around? Oh, that's why, because now I have to get away from them. Yay. With these things always keeping up with me and taking out fractions of my health, I was able to hide in the designated location. A construction site. So now I sneak inside Oscorp to discover what those rats are up to. The following mission here is a stealth mission. I have to get on the ceiling or hide in the darkness so that I don't get spotted by the guards. Otherwise they'll activate an alarm that sends out robots to hunt you down and kill you. You have to find a 5-piece code that's on 5 different computers in the whole building in order to grant access to a door that can only be entered when you enter that said code. The computers that have the codes are the ones with the screens lit up. Depending on how good you are in stealth segments in video games will depend on how good you are here. Trust me. After getting the codes, I was able to enter them into the door so that it can open. We then discover through snooping that Oscorp has chemical weapons at their disposal.
Chemical weapons? That's a definite no-no.
This plays out the exact same way as the last mission, so I don't need to go into detail. Instead of codes though, I had to enter 4 rooms that have a switch to cancel out the chemicals. I had to do it in the order it provides here. B, A, C, D. What, you didn't want it to go alphabetically so you weren't so cliched? Once you hit the first 2 switches in order, you have to enter the room that contains those chemicals and deactivate them with the corresponding switch. If you don't do it in the order it provides here, you'll release the chemicals and you'll fail the mission. And again, it sounds easy, but the game goes out of its way to make it a nightmare. Because there are so many damn lasers and spotlights in which it looks as if it's impossible to get across without getting detected. I mean, really, look at this. And this. And this. How do you expect me to not get hit by these lasers? No, really, tell me. Damn, and I thought Jak 2 was pretty unforgiving. Alright, final room, final switch. Let's get this over with.
Doc, this door is locked.
Oh, god damn it, are you kidding me?
Spider-Man, be careful. Dr. Rue, the head of the project, seems to have figured out that something is wrong. He's headed your way.
Of course! Of course he found out something's wrong and now he's coming my way. Why the hell not? So I got the key from that dirtbag to enter the last room to do the same thing I did before, and we're done. Oh god. Oh god. This part. I can't even begin to describe the ferocious nature this mission has here. Dare I say, it's one of 2 of the hardest and most frustrating parts in the entire game. There's this giant robot that's powered by 10 generators, and like I've been saying a bunch of times, it's much more troublesome than it sounds. Because there are hazards everywhere in this damn room. Aside from the stupid robots, there are turrets on top of the giant robot's back that will fire missiles, and when you try and destroy 4 of the 10 generators at the very back, that giant fucking robot will fire its big ass laser at you, and if it hits you, you might as well give up. Because it's almost practically a one-hit kill attack. You're going to have to get a lot of health packs for this mission, but most of them are below this railing here, which you have to go underneath it, crawl until you're directly under the health, and drop to collect it. Why does it have to be this complicated to get some health? Couldn't they just place it directly on the railing underneath? That's unnecessary to make the job as measly as collecting health complicated. Come on, you horrible excuses for game developers. How is this supposed to be fair? And on normal difficulty? If this is normal, I can't even imagine what hard and super hard would be like. Can you guys even wrap your head around how almost nearly impossible this part is? I mean, might I remind you, this game is rated E, intended for mostly children. How can kids, or any living human being for that matter, possibly complete something this tough? I say that it's nearly impossible because I believe that there's only one way to beat this mission without cheat codes. You have to go after the 4 generators in the back. Since the stupid cheap robot will fire its laser the very moment you touch those generators, you have to get out of there quickly by swinging on your web. Now that he's facing in one direction, go the opposite direction and take out one of those generators. Get at least 1 hit off of them and repeat the process. Heck, it doesn't even have to be 1 hit. If you miss, just move on and go the opposite direction and keep this up until those 4 generators are destroyed. Then just destroy the remaining 6 on the robot's back. The reasons you have to do it like this is because if you do it the other way around, a cutscene will play out which will cut you off if you're far behind destroying the generators at the far back, and you won't have enough time to get out of the laser's path. Even so, this is easily one of the most painful, cheap, rage-inducing, migraine-causing parts in a game I've ever played. It's that brutal. I hope that I'm close to the end here. I don't have much energy to tolerate this crap, man. So, if you manage to destroy the generators, the robot's weak spot will be exposed and unprotected. Send a barrage of attacks on it, and the horror will finally come to an end. thank you, baby Jesus. Thanks a bunch. So after sneaking into Norman Osborn's office, Spidey finds a picture of Mary Jane, which gives an indication that Norman's after her. Now we simply have to escape Oscorp. All the while, an endless army of robots try to attack you. In order to disable the lasers and turrets blocking your way, you go into these two rooms in both sides of the building and hit the switches and then make a run for it. It's pretty short and simple, but compared to the hell I went through fighting that damn robot, I'll take it. The last two missions, on the other hand, are a totally different story. We were too late to save Mary Jane because she's now in the hands of our goblin demon friend here. So again, like the Vulture missions, we have to chase after him. Are they really so freaking lazy that they had to make the missions involving Vulture and the Green Goblin identical? Oh, and must I point out that this mission is just as bad as the fight with that damn robot? The Green Goblin goes way too freaking fast for you to keep up, and in result he's able to get away from your sight a lot. At least with Vulture, I mean, he has wings, and you have to flap those things, so you can imagine he can't travel very fast and you can keep up with him. This asshole, on the other hand, is on a glider. He won't get tired and he's in complete control of how fast he goes. If they expect you to keep up with him and for the player to feel as if it's your fault for not keeping up with him, then to that I say, poppycock! Since it's during the night, it makes it even harder for you to even find out where he is. And for some reason, the R button's all jacked up. You see how I was able to flow smoothly with the web in these other missions? That's because when I decide to jump to go further, I can just immediately hit the R button again to shoot another web to swing through the buildings of New York. For some reason, on this mission, and this mission only, every time I try to tap the R button, the game acts as if I didn't even push it to begin with. It's like they poured salt in the wound to make the game even more unplayable as it already is. Again, it feels as if there's only one way to complete this mission, and unfortunately, it's at the cost of failing the mission a couple of times. Once you see where the Green Goblin's going ahead of time by exiting lock-on mode at the cost of failing a couple of times, you'll be able to complete the mission. This is on normal difficulty. This is about as normal as fighting the AI in Mario Party that's set to brutal. This really proves to me that the game developers didn't even try when they made this game. You can't honestly take a look at these missions along with the boredom and brutality they contain and honestly say with a straight face that they put effort into this. When that speck of waste is out of the way, it's finally here. The very last mission in the entire game. We're at the final frontier. First we have to get Mary Jane off of this burning building. Then we fight the Green Goblin for the second and final time. But get this, it's literally exactly like the first time you fight him. There's no changes and no improvements. It's the same annoying fight with the same annoying rubbish I had to put up with the first time I had to fight him. The only difference here is that his glider will actually attack you when he gets off of it when you take out his health in blue. Wow. Just when I thought they couldn't get any lazier, they pull this out of their butts. The final fight with the Green Goblin is honestly one of the worst final bosses I've ever played in a video game, since it plays exactly like the first time you fight him, and seeing as how I just went over how he's the worst boss in the entire game, I can just rest my case then and there. What a disgrace to final bosses in video games you are, Green Goblin. What a disgrace. The Green Goblin reveals he's Norman Osborn.
Mr. Osborn.
Yeah, very believable reaction there, Mr. Maguire. He tries to kill Spidey with his glider, but it backfires and ends up killing himself.
Tell Harry I'm sorry.
What, for being evil and that you shouldn't have done it to begin with?
I'm sorry too. Mary Jane, there's something I have to tell you.
Wow, you're so focused on Mary Jane than the person who practically raised you like a son and got you an apartment. Though, considering how they just brought that up really quickly from early on in the game and just blew it off and practically forgot it, I guess he would have somewhat of a not caring reaction. And how is he able to kiss her with his mask on?
Yeah, that's my life. Complicated. Looks like you're done now. Go outside and play.
You know what, Tobey Maguire? I think I will. After all of this stupidity I went through, I will go outside. In fact, I think I'm going to get in my bathing suit, get an umbrella, a chair, some of my jams, and just relax. I'd rather do that for about 3 hours than play this ever again. I'll fully admit, the 2002 Spider-Man movie has not aged pretty well. It's one of those films where you can't really find anything wrong with it when you first watch it, but as you get older and look back on it, you could point out its flaws and mistakes. But even still, I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely not the best Spider-Man flick, whether it's from this trilogy or in general, but it's still watchable. The game, on the other hand, should be burned and forgotten. At first it plays out decent enough, but the further the game goes on, the worse it gets. The controls are damn near uncontrollable, the bosses are unimpressive, the missions might start out tolerable but then they get frustrating, the acting is dreadful, the difficulty in itself is misleading and is way too hard for its targeted audience, and overall, it's just boring. On top of that, the game is way too short. I mentioned before that I don't mind short games, seeing as how I love games like Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus, but I thought that they could have done so much more with games that are short. This game is no exception. When I gathered all of the footage that I took of me playing this game for the review, I was able to beat this entire game in less than 3 hours. That's as long as Dark Isle from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. And that was just one level compared to this entire game. The music was alright, and that skippable opening cutscene does get you excited and ready for some Spider-Man. But aside from those, I can easily say that this is not only the worst Spider-Man game I've currently played, but one of the worst games I've ever played in general. God, what did I say back in my top 10 licensed games again? That getting dull was never going to be possible for Spider-Man or something like that? Boy, was I sure as hell wrong. That's why I feel like the sequel was a major improvement over this. That game did Spider-Man right and took advantage of what Spider-Man himself can do. So, take my advice and play that and stay the hell away from this game. Unless you want to be pissed off several times and witness one of the hardest games ever made. Then go for broke and may the video game gods be with you. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna do as Tobey Maguire said and go outside. I don't care how cold or hot it might be, and if it takes away the feeling of Halloween. Better that than play through this game ever again. I'm the Hedgehog Ninja, and happy Halloween, everybody.